Hello everyone, welcome to the artist review of the iPad Air 4. Now this video is going to be quite long, so if you want to save time, you can actually check out the text review that I have already written on my blog. The link will be in the video description below. Just to give you the gist of this product, this is essentially the iPad Pro 11-inch from 2018 with slight differences that I'm going to talk about in this video. So to me, this design is actually not new. I mean, it's new for people who are coming from iPads that still have the fingerprint sensor, but this design has been around for 2 years. Having said that, this is still a nice design update from the previous generation that still has the fingerprint sensor. So the body is now smaller, but the screen size has increased from 10.5 inch to 10.9 inches. And we have flat edges on all sides. So at the top here, this is where you can snap the Apple Pencil to it for charging and for pairing. This power button here, it has a fingerprint sensor built into it and it works quite effectively. The iPad Air 4 is available in 5 different colors: space gray, silver, rose gold, green, and sky blue. This model that I bought is the sky blue. I'm not sure if my camera can capture the color for you guys, but at certain angles it actually looks like graphite to me. That's the 12 megapixel f1.8 camera, and that's the microphone. The iPad Pro actually has LED light here that you can use as a torch or flash, so that's missing here. Connector for the accessories is right here at the bottom, and because this tablet has the exact length and width dimensions as the iPad Pro 11-inch from 2018 and 2020, you can use all the accessories that were made for those tablets with the iPad Air 4. So Apple has finally replaced the Lightning port with USB-C. USB-C is definitely more versatile because you can now connect a USB-C adapter to the tablet, and you can connect other USB devices such as microphones, external storage. I can output video through the HDMI port I have here. I can also connect micro SD card here to transfer photos to my tablet. Even though this tablet has 4 speakers, 2 at the bottom and 2 at the top, the audio is only coming out from the 2 bottom speakers when the tablet is in landscape orientation. So the tablet is 0.2 millimeter thicker compared to the iPad Pros, and it's 458 grams, which is actually quite lightweight for a tablet this size. This tablet is very usable with one hand, so I can hold it like this and draw with my other hand. I don't have to set this down on a table or on some support. With the iPad Pro 12.9 inch, I always have to set it down on a table or on a support. But for this, I can hold this very easily in portrait orientation or in landscape orientation. And even if I add a case to it, it's still going to be light enough for me to hold comfortably for long periods of time. So the compact design here is one of the main selling points of the iPad Air 4 or the iPad Pro 11-inch versus the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. If you want to get a case for the iPad Air, do get a case that protects all the sides. So I have a slim case on my iPad Pro 12.9-inch and it doesn't protect the sides, and I have dents everywhere. Resolution of this tablet is 2360 by 1640. It has slightly lower resolution compared to the iPad Pro, which has 28 pixels more on the width and also on the length. By the way, all the corners are rounded off very nicely, and that includes the LCD as well. The iPad Air has a pixel density of 264 ppi, which is to say that all the visuals, the icons, the text, everything is going to look sharp and detailed. Colors on this 10.9-inch LCD display look fantastic out of the box. The colors are very vibrant. Maximum brightness is up to 500 nits, which is about 100 nits lower compared to the iPad Pro, but at 500 nits, it's pretty bright. And this display is glossy. with some coating on it to reduce reflections, and it works really well because right now there is strong sunlight outside and you can see the reflection of my window grills. It's not that obvious. I mean, I can still see the icons, the colors very clearly. And this tablet, it has pretty good viewing angles, so the colors, they don't shift much when you look at the iPad from different angles. And there is True Tone technology, which means it's going to take into account ambient lighting to present to you more accurate colors. So for example, I'm looking at white now. So this is neutral white. This is not warm white or cool blue white. This is neutral and natural looking white. I find True Tone to work really well. It's very pleasing to my eyes. Now, one thing you may notice is as I zoom in and out, the animation appears to be a bit choppy. That's because this display, it actually has a refresh rate of 60 Hz, not the 120 Hz ProMotion display that you get on the iPad Pro. So animation like scrolling web pages, it's going to appear a bit choppy, relatively speaking. Animations like zooming in and out, panning around the canvas, it's going to appear a bit choppy, but to me it's not a big deal, because if you want to go with 120 Hz ProMotion, that means you are going to have to spend a few hundreds of dollars more. So that is the trade-off here. This 10.9-inch display is a good size to draw on compared to an A5 size sketchbook. The display is slightly larger. So when you're drawing, even with palettes on the display, you still get a good amount of space left to see your work. You can also place your hand on the tablet. You can cover a portion of the display and you still get like a good amount of space to draw on. And because of the design with the bezels here, you can still hold the tablet like this with your thumb here, and it will not interfere or touch anything on the display. The iPad Air has a laminated display just like the iPad Pro, so when you're drawing, there is almost no gap between the line that appears and the pen tip. Apple Pencil 2 is sold separately for US $129. The main differences between this second generation Apple Pencil and the first generation is it has a flat side here that allows you to attach to the side of the tablet for charging, and when you double tap the Apple Pencil you get some shortcuts depending on the app that you are using. And since the Apple Pencil is always by the side of the tablet, you don't have to worry about it running out of battery. Apple Pencil is very accurate and very sensitive. The lines always appear directly beneath the pen tip, and because of the laminated display, there is not going to be any sort of parallax. As long as the pen tip is touching the display, you can get a line, so that's how sensitive Apple Pencil is. Certain drawing apps even allow you to adjust the pressure curve so that you can get the line performance and pressure sensitivity that you want. So now I can get thin lines very easily when I draw very lightly. There is also tilt sensitivity, so you can change the tilt while you are drawing to get a broader stroke. And it works really effectively. You can also use tilt with pressure. When drawing on a 60 Hz display, latency is going to be more noticeable, so the gap between the line as it tries to catch up with the pen tip, that gap is going to be larger, relatively speaking, compared to drawing on a 120 Hz display. But usually in the real world, you're not drawing long sweeping lines like this, so latency is not that big of an issue when it comes to drawing. So I can still draw like really fast and very smoothly. And how smooth the lines appear when you're drawing will also depend a lot on the app you use. So with Procreate, the app that I'm using right now, the lines, they appear to be quite smooth. Smooth as in the animation of the lines appearing, it's pretty smooth. Let me redraw this vehicle again while I talk more about the drawing experience. So now I have the tablet on a stand. I do recommend getting some sort of stand to prop up the tablet so that it's more comfortable to draw on. And this particular stand allows me to adjust the angle. So let me just prop it up. The app that I'm using is Procreate, so let's do a very quick sketch. Let's pick a brush first. Okay, as I scroll down this list of brushes, I can see the choppy animation of the scroll, but to me it's not a big deal. So let me create a new layer. Okay, the Apple Pencil tip is a hard tip, so when you're tapping on the display, you're going to hear the tapping sound. But for drawing, it's actually not an issue because when we are drawing, we don't usually like tap on the display. We are usually drawing with a bit more care. So notice there is no tapping sound. So right now I have the tablet set on my tablet stand, which is on the table, so it's very stable. When I'm using this outdoors, when I'm holding it in hand, I find that it's a bit more challenging for me to draw straighter lines because the tablet is moving and it's a hard tip against a glass slippery surface, so the pen tip can slide out of place. I find that happens with me way too often. But when drawing against support, like stationary support, it's very easy, relatively speaking. I think I drew this part a bit too wide. So with Procreate, the default eraser shortcut is to double tap the Apple Pencil so that you can erase very quickly, and double tap to switch back. It's certainly very convenient, but sometimes I find that I would double tap the Apple Pencil without me knowing, and I would start erasing things. So that obviously is not good. So with Procreate, I would actually just turn off the double tap shortcut. When it comes to zooming in and out, panning and rotating, I can see the choppiness, but overall the responsiveness, it's still very snappy. Palm rejection works really well. Certain apps will even allow you to turn on strict palm rejection, where the app will only take pen input. So I have turned on strict palm rejection for Procreate. So if I use my finger to draw on the canvas, nothing will happen, but I can still use the finger gestures for navigation shortcuts. So in this case, palm rejection here, it's flawless. But even if you are using an app without strict palm rejection still works really well because it just works really well. This iPad Air has a new processor, the A14 processor, but when it comes to drawing, I don't really see any difference in the experience compared to the previous generation iPad Air 3 or even the iPad Pro 11-inch from 2018-2020. You're still going to get the same drawing experience. So the faster processor doesn't mean you're going to be able to draw like faster. It doesn't work that way. But if you're using apps that can take advantage of the faster or more powerful processor, then you're going to see the difference. But when it comes to drawing, you're still going to get the same Apple Pencil experience. Let me just turn this around to draw a straighter line. I guess I can draw a straight line by using the shortcut with Procreate. Yep, I can do so. Let me fill this with black. Doesn't look right. It doesn't look right because the color is flat. So I have to actually go in and shade this with the brush. because I actually like this textured look. So this particular brush, the Tinder box, I can actually hold a pen vertically to draw lines, and when I tilt it to the side, I can shade with it, so it's quite nice. As I try to color the back wheel here, I want to tilt my Apple Pencil to fill in the larger area, so it works very nicely, but you will have to get used to how the tilt will work, because when you draw vertically with the pencil and when you tilt suddenly, you're going to get like a very big change from thin to become extremely thick. So you have to do it slowly and see how the tilt will work. Otherwise, it's going to be very challenging to shade. So for example here, I wanted to shade this part, but the tilt brush is too big. So let me just shade this slowly. The fill bucket allows me to add colors very quickly to big areas, but the colors will look very flat. So I'm going to add some texture to this green. I'm going to select the same green and maybe have a lighter green for the texture. Let me choose this textured brush and add some texture to it. And now I need to fill in this part here. So even though the glass is supposed to be slippery, here I can fill in the colors in this tight area very easily. There will be a good amount of friction with the palm against the glass screen, so that gives you a bit more control. Some people do prefer to use a matte screen protector. I'm not sure which one I prefer, because when I draw on a matte screen protector, I feel like I should be drawing on glass because the screen protector affects the colors. But when I'm drawing on glass, I feel like I should be drawing on a matte screen protector because I like the tactile feel to it. So the overall drawing experience, it's really good. So this is just a quick sketch I drew to talk about the drawing experience. Let's take a look at the file size. So the resolution of the file is 2360 by 1640, basically the resolution of the iPad Air 4. The time-lapse video takes up 25 megabytes and the total file size is 58 megabytes, which is considered small. Let's take a look at another file. This one was drawn a few days ago. This is a 4K file. So this has a lot more layers. Let's take a look at the file size. Total file size 140 megabytes. The time-lapse video is 40 megabytes. So with Procreate, they will automatically record the time-lapse for you, but you have to set the video quality. So I have the video quality at good, which is actually quite low. They have several video qualities. The best video quality is lossless. So let's take a look at another file. This was drawn with another iPad, but I imported it over to this iPad Air. So with this particular file, it's also a 4K file, but the total file size is 600 megabytes, so it's about 4 or 5 times larger compared to the previous 4K file. And the video settings here, the video file takes up 270 megabytes. So this particular file, it's 600 megabytes. It's a huge file. It's going to take up a lot of storage. So one way you can reduce the storage is to purge the video file, basically delete the time-lapse video, in which case you will be left with just the Procreate file. That's going to help you save a lot of storage. How big the file will be will depend on many factors. It will depend on the number of layers you have, how complex is the drawing, and also the resolution and the app that you use. So this file in Procreate is 600 megabytes. I can probably draw the same thing with concepts, but this is a vector drawing software. So all these lines, the textures that you see are all mathematical formulas. They are not going to take up a lot of storage space. So I can zoom in and I can still see a lot of details, the textures, and I can zoom out. In fact, for this, I can just keep on drawing and the file size will not be more than 50 or even 100 megabytes. So that's the advantage of vector software. Let's see how many layers we can get with Procreate on the iPad Air 4. I'm going to create a custom A4 size file, which is 29.7 centimeters by 21 centimeters at 300 dpi. So I can get a total of 19 layers. Let's compare that with other tablets. So the previous generation, the iPad Air 3 from 2019, which has 3 gigs of RAM, can create 19 layers. The iPad Air 4, as you have seen earlier, has 4 gigs of RAM, can create 19 layers. The iPad Mini 5, 3 gigs of RAM, 19 layers. The iPad Pro from 2018 has the same amount of RAM as this iPad Air 4, 4 gigs, but it can create 3 times the number of layers. And the iPad Pro from 2020 has 6 gigs of RAM and can create 57 layers. So in theory, the hardware in the iPad Air 4 can support more layers because the A14 chip is almost as powerful compared to the A12 or A12Z chip in the iPad Pros, but there is a limit set. I'm not sure by who. And now let's talk about pricing and storage options. So here's a list of prices of the various tablets that Apple is selling. BN is brand new, RF is refurbished. Here you see I've listed refurbished 64 gigs iPad Air 4. Refurbished products from Apple usually come out 6 months later after the launch date. So I just put in this price. For reference purposes, usually refurbished products are 15% off official retail price. So for the 64 gigs iPad Air 4, it's selling at $600 US, and if you upgrade to the 256 gigs model, that's an extra $150, making it a total of $750, and that doesn't include the Apple Pencil 2, which is $130. So everything adds up. It's going to be quite pricey. Now for beginners, I would actually recommend getting the brand new iPad 10.2 inch instead, because for US $429 you get 128 gigs of storage, which is quite a good amount for drawing. It's definitely going to be more comfortable compared to 64 gigs of storage. By the way, let me show you how much storage I have in my iPad Air 4. Currently, I'm using around 24 gigs out of the 64 gigs, so I have 40 gigs of storage left. I did not transfer all my files from my other iPad over here, by the way. Now, if you delete away all the unnecessary apps, you can get that number down to maybe 13-14 gigabytes, in which case you will be left with 50 gigabytes of storage. So after installing all the apps that you want, maybe you're left with 40 gigs of storage. I feel like that's still sufficient for creating art, for digital drawing. Now, let's say you want to upgrade to 256 gigs, so that's $750. Now, the iPad Pro 11-inch model, that is $800, which is just $50 more. So that iPad Pro 11-inch from 2020 may be a better buy in terms of value for money, because you get ProMotion 120Hz display. You also get the 4-way speakers. You can also consider a refurbished 11-inch iPad Pro from 2020. So that iPad Pro was released in March and now it's October. I have already seen refurbished models for that on Apple's website, but they have since removed it, maybe because of the iPad Air 4 launch. Anyway, for the 11-inch iPad Pro with 128 gigs, that is $679, which is $80 more compared to the brand new 64 gigs iPad Air 4. So for $80 extra, you get 64 gigs of storage, and you get ProMotion. You also get the 4-way speakers. Personally, I think the refurbished 11-inch iPad Pro is a good deal, but if you want to spend the bare minimum and you still want to get a nice looking tablet, then the 64 gigs iPad Air 4 is good. Regardless of how much storage you get, I highly recommend you get the iCloud plan. So iCloud serves two purposes. One is to back up the iPad, and the second purpose is to give you online storage. So for $1 per month, you get 50 gigs, which is not enough to back up the 64 gigs tablet completely. So go with the 200 gigs plan, which is $3 per month. With iCloud Drive, let's say you run out of storage on your tablet, you can actually transfer your drawings onto the iCloud Drive, basically to free up space on the tablet. I have done so with a few files, so let's take a look. So all these files that you see here are actually on the iCloud Drive. Let me show you the icon view. One nice thing about iCloud is they will show you the thumbnail of your art, so it makes finding your art so much easier. Now you can transfer your Procreate files to Google Drive. At the time of making this video, Google Drive only shows the generic file icons for Procreate and Concepts file, the two apps that I use very frequently. Now this file here on the left, I can see the thumbnail, but I'm not sure what file format this is. Whether it's an Adobe Illustrator file or if it's a PDF file, because there is no file extension here. There are a lot of things I hate about file management on the iPad OS. I'm not going to go into that because that's going to make this video very long. Okay, so I have attached an external storage here. That's the micro SD card. So you can transfer your files onto external storage as well, and you will be able to see the thumbnail. So that's another option if you want to save your files out from the tablet onto external drive to free up space on your tablet. iCloud will back up everything on the tablet. That includes the apps as well as the files within the apps. Now you can certainly use your computer to back up the tablet. You can use iTunes on Windows or Mac OS to back up the tablet. But I have read stories where the backup and restore will fail for whatever reason. I have reviewed many iPads before, and I always use iCloud to import all the apps and files onto the new iPad, and it has always worked without any issues. So it's safer, much safer to use iCloud as a backup. iCloud backup happens behind the scenes without you having to do anything, whereas if you backup using your computer, you must remember to connect your tablet to your computer. Battery life is fantastic. I was able to get over 9 hours of use with the screen on all the time. This is when I'm using the tablet indoors. If I'm using the tablet outdoors, under sunlight, under bright conditions, the auto brightness will turn the brightness all the way up to the max, and in which case the battery life is going to be shorter, maybe around 7 hours, but it's still really good. Should you get a matte screen protector for better drawing experience? Well, a matte screen protector does give you that tactile feeling when you're drawing, gives you a bit more control, but the downside is when light is reflected off the surface, it's going to create some white haze that's going to affect the colors and contrast. Today is not too bad because it's cloudy outside, but under strong lighting conditions, that white haze can be very obvious, making it very difficult for you to see the art that is beneath. Without a matte screen protector, this is what you're going to get. The colors are going to look original, vibrant, and the contrast excellent. And the reflection is actually not that bad. Now, if you do want to get a matte screen protector, I recommend this brand called Super Shields because it's cheap and good. Now, after you apply it, in the event that you find out that you don't like to use a matte screen protector because it affects the visual quality so much, you can just tear it off, remove it, and throw it away without feeling like you have wasted too much money. So this is my artist review of the iPad Air 4. So is this worth the money? As mentioned earlier, if you are a beginner, I do recommend the iPad 10.2 inch because it's almost $200 cheaper and you get more storage with the 128 gigs model. If you have a bit more budget and you want to get a nice looking tablet today, then this may be worth the money. But do consider the refurbished 11-inch iPad Pro from 2020 as well. I hope I covered everything there is to know when it comes to using this for drawing. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. See you guys again. Bye.